amazing.
Does the red help, do you think? The red seats help
like it.
the vibrant?
I like it.
Yeah, I do too.
You can clean blood very easily.
So, as we look back on this film, you know, it's 16 years ago. When you were making this film, when you were conceiving this film, and you're such a visual filmmaker, was there a first image that occurred to you for this film?
Yeah, well, there were different things. There were the crucial ones or the first one. Obviously, the first one was the labyrinth and the fawn. And the fawn being fused with the rock and the moss and the earth and the roots. Now, I didn't know exactly how he was going to look, but I knew he needed to look like he was of a piece with the labyrinth. That much, and it came from reading a combination of fairy tales and neo-paganistic horror, like Arthur Machen and Algernon Blackwood, you know, and this idea of the labyrinth by the moonlight. Those were the first images, I would say.
And so would you say you had the labyrinth or you had the fawn first, or they kind of both coexisted?
They were the same thing.
They were the same thing?
Yeah, they were together.
And to bring Doug into the conversation, you had just made Hellboy beforehand.
Yes.
I mean, just within a few years. Yes, please, Hellboy.
Thank you.
And so I would love to know. Yeah, so all of you worked on Hellboy together. How was that experience going from, for both of you, going from a big production to something smaller scale, and then from working with Doug as Abe Sapien to these other roles? How was that shift for all of you?
Well, I like going from big movies to smaller movies. I like it because it keeps you honest and it keeps you scared. Both things are very important. So I liked it a lot, but everything that could go wrong on Pan's Labyrinth went wrong. Every single thing. And the crew also thought we were insane. The Spanish crew thought I was a complete fool in the mountain, screaming nonsense. And I think it changed the day we shot this scene. They kind of realized there was something afoot. But the first day he showed up in a fascist period movie as a fun, and he couldn't see, and I was guiding him in, and Doggy was like, oh, God bless, God bless. What is this American dressed as a fun doing in a fascist period movie? So it was weird.
How was that for you, Doug, that experience?
Well, Guillermo Del Toro is the only person who could have pulled all that off. I will say that up front. Yes. And when I read the script for this, I wiped my tears away at the last page and said, "Oh my gosh, I have to be in this movie." And I knew that, like you said, going from Hellboy to this was a big studio, multi-layers of decision makers. This was his movie, his and his alone. And so I knew we were in very good hands with the script that I just read, and knowing his directing style. I knew that what he wrote was going to be what was going to be on film, as I imagined it, and it sure as heck was. Yeah.
Yeah, so what was your...
Well, I have to say something like that. So we were going from, we made all kinds of different movies and sizes, but I think the big difference was what he's mentioning is that here in this world you have creative control of what you're doing. You don't have to be approved, discussed, questioned. Say, no, it's not too big. So we were really on our own. So this is really a product of us.
We did 135 days of shoot on
Wow.
135, Monday through Saturday.
We were zombies.
And then Sunday I edited. So the last week we were the living dead. We really
Hellboy 2?
Hellboy 1, 135 days in the cold, frozen, and I always fall in every movie I shoot. I fall, I roll down the mountain. The most humiliating fall you can imagine. The crew, I come in, I got the premiere, and then I roll down a hill. I fall like Peter from Family Guy. And this movie was frozen in the ruins, you remember, in Hellboy? And I fell down, and the focus puller said, "Look at the fat one roll." I fell on Pan's Labyrinth, by the way,
A lot of hills there.
into
I
an
mean.
open grave.
It's also, so you guys know, it's also as fun as this. Because we laugh constantly on set, and we really enjoy the process, and would like to be there,
Yes.
which is not necessarily the case in many other occasions.
And no matter what the budget, we do that. That's the fun. I mean, look, we're doing these movies, and we did Hellboy 2 with, and 1. We do no second unit. And we shoot everything. And so, you know, we have that in common. We shoot the big movies as if they were small movies.
Yeah, they created incredible conditions of 6 night weeks.
Cold night.
They haven't heard of unions there, but yeah.
Somebody interviewed somebody the other day in Canada, and they said, "How is it to be working with Guillermo?" And the answer was, "Wet and cold."
Always.
It's very accurate.
Rain in every movie of his.
And cold.
And it's cold.
But this one was shot during a drought, wasn't it?
It was a drought, but at night it was brutal. We had the worst of both worlds. But the drought, yes, there had been an enormous fire. Enormous, the biggest in this century, and so they didn't allow us to use anything that had fire. So everybody was doing this with the gun. We couldn't use blanks.
Yeah.
We couldn't use squibs. So everything was digital. And the last day of shooting there, the firemen got bored and they went for a coffee, and we blew up the truck. It was the last day, and I said, fuck it, let's blow up the truck. They're not here.
Yeah, but for instance, I just remember when we could not use fire, and we had all the scene of the attack of the place. And the way that we had to do it was I had to bring big dimmers of theaters with big finales, and do fade-ins of lights and then creating the explosions. They're completely theatrical.
Yeah, all the explosions at night are Guillermo backlighting steam. And then we had a cannon, a mortar on the ground blowing up mud. Yeah. No fire element.
No fire at all.
No.
Amazing.
Yeah, we couldn't. But that's when people say
That's because we're Mexicans, so we learn to work with fire.
exactly. I tell you, being Mexican, you give me 2 pieces of chewing gum and I'll make an epic.
And I mean, some of the resourcefulness as well is because the story takes place in a single location. I mean, more or less, between the labyrinth and the mansion, the house. Was that by design? Was that by choice? Or was that just a budgetary reason?
Well, no, it was by design. I mean, the thing is, this movie, every single thing you see is real, it's built. There's nothing real. So we had to design everything to fit on 185 beautifully, like a painting. And it's very, very hard to, this movie cost exactly the same as Shape of Water, 19.3 million. Exactly the same number. And it was shot, everything was built. In fact, there's a funny story. You see, there is that pigeon coop by the side of the house, the main house. That pigeon coop was supposed to be a giant pigeon coop. It was like out of Spinal Tap when they bring down the stone monument. to see the construction and the production designer. It was his first movie, first big movie production designer. And he says, "Look, this is the pigeon coop." And Guillermo and I said, "This is tiny." It was supposed to be a big scene, and I'll shoot it in another movie.
I also want to ask, I mean, there is an obsession, I shouldn't use the word obsession, but there is a recurring motif of eyes,
Yeah.
right? The first time Ophelia picks something up, it's a piece of the eye of the stone. The labyrinth itself, the design above it is missing eyes. Obviously, it's very prevalent as Doug plays. The fawn, the eyes themselves evolve through the movie, right? They start quite clouded and they get quite clearer. What's that?
But then the eyes.
And then, of course, most famously, these eyes. So, was there also another decision about that motif of eyes, or did they just keep,
No,
lack of a better term, popping
It's
up?
in most of my movies. It's a motif of great importance in Nightmare Alley. It's a motif of great importance is the theme, or one of the themes of Shape of Water, which is how we look, the gaze, of each other. And we had a company for a while that was called Mirada, you know? And I think the idea for me is only those that know how to look will find magic in this world, because there is none if you don't know where to look. And that's the idea at the end with the little flower. If you know where to look, there's magic. And this came from what made me make this movie was I felt that I was making movies that I didn't feel they were gonna leave anything behind. And it's not about posterity, because what has it done for me lately, right? But it's about I thought of the movies that made me survive this life when I was a kid, because movies saved my life and my sanity a few times. And I thought, can I make one of those for anyone that needs it? You know, it's sort of silly, but I think of my movies as songs that are a soundtrack for somebody's life, you know, that can be useful. It doesn't matter if it's Pacific Rim is one type of song. And I think people can play those songs, because to me, the people that like my movies, I'm fortunate that they connect to them in the same molecular way that I connected with the things I loved as a kid. So it came from, can I give them something to look at?
Fascinating.
Yeah.